Good morning, friends. Happy Sunday. Today's July 19th. Um, Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's Lucy Barrios, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about um the topic of unity, which is big in the Baha'i faith. That's the faith that I'm a part of. I don't know if you already know, but yes, I'm a Baha'i. And Baha'is, we believe in the unity of all humanity, unity of religion, and the unity of all mankind. So I wanted to start today's talk just with an opening prayer and then go over a little bit about what my home devotional was about to the online community because I want to include you guys as well. I know not everyone can come over. I live really far from, the the rest of you, and it's unfortunate, but hey, we have YouTube to connect us all, right? So yes, I'll do a quick prayer and then I'll talk about what we talked about at our devotional yesterday. O thou kind Lord, unite all, let the religions agree and make the nations one so that they may see each other as one family and the whole earth as one home. It is a beautiful prayer by Abdul Baha. So yes, I'll jump right in. I wanted to welcome and thank you all for being here today. Whether you are a lifelong Baha'i, a member of another faith tradition, or simply someone seeking hope and inspiration, you're warmly welcomed. Thanks for joining. Today, we will reflect on one of the central teachings of the Baha'i Faith, again, which is the principle of unity. And when we look around the world today, we see incredible advances in science, technology, and definitely communication. Yet at the same time, we still are witnessing a lot of division among nations and communities and families and even within ourselves. So I definitely agree that we all long for peace, but often struggle with conflict. So all of us, I think, can agree that we desire love, yet we fear, um, yet fear and like prejudice, continue to separate us, which it's reality, right? Well, there is something that I wanted to tell you guys here. And so in the Baha'i writings, it tells us that humanity has reached a stage in its development where like unity is no longer simply a noble like ideal. It is a necessity. So Baha'u'llah actually told us in his own words, he said, the well-being of mankind, its peace and security are unattainable unless and until its unity is firmly established. So this quote is definitely inspiring and also challenging. So I'll give it those two words to describe it. It really tells us that lasting peace cannot be achieved merely through treaties, through political agreements, or economic prosperity. True peace begins with recognizing that we are all just one human family. That's such a huge principle in the Baha'i faith. I can't like stress that enough. Um, it's something that is very, very important, adamant to all Baha'is, definitely across all platforms. So that is where I will begin. And it's really explaining that humanity is one family. I don't know if anyone's ever heard this concept before. Um, Again, it's very important that we go back to our roots and be, kind and humane and great listeners and things like that. So why? I mean, obviously, because you want to be a good human being, right? But one of the best known statements in the Baha'i writings is this, and this is a quote from Baha'u'llah. It says that the earth is but one country and mankind its citizens. So just briefly, just like imagine, for a moment, if every person truly believed this. If, imagine if, national borders no longer determined who deserved compassion. Imagine if race no longer divided people. Imagine if differences in language, culture, wealth, or religion became reasons for celebration rather than suspicion, right? The Baha'i teachings remind us that like diversity is not a weakness. It is one of God's greatest gifts. A quote from Abdul Baha beautifully explains, um, that we should do this. So if you can ponder over this quote, I will recite it. And it just says, consider the flowers of a garden, though differing in kind, in color, form, and shape, yet inasmuch as they are refreshed by the waters of one spring, this diversity increaseth their charm and adds unto their beauty. So that is a quote from Abdul Baha. Furthermore, I just wanted to reiterate with this quote, like you're asked to think about flowers of a garden, and just like the picture behind me, they're different colors, they're different sizes, they're different shapes. They're even at different heights in the garden, right? But they're all refreshed by the waters of one spring. And this diversity increases their charm and it adds to their beauty, right? So a garden made up of only one kind of flower would not be nearly as beautiful. Likewise, humanity becomes more beautiful because of its diversity. So unity in essence does not mean sameness. It does not mean that. Unity really means harmony. And that is a harmony between all kinds of different people, of every kind of walk of life, from every kind of test and difficulty, from every color, uh, every nationality, so on and so forth. Culture, wealth, religion, language. I mean, the diversity just is insane, right? So just as the instruments of an orchestra like play like different notes to create one beautiful symphony, each culture and race and people contribute something unique to humanity, right? So you might be asking yourselves, like, why does unity matter today? Make it relevant to today, right? So the challenges facing humanity cannot be solved by one nation acting alone, okay? So there's climate change, there's poverty, there's disease, there's war, there's economic inequality, there's just religious prejudice across the board, right? These are all global problems, etc., requiring global cooperation, right? But Baha'u'llah really revealed in his teachings during a time of like tremendous conflict, you know. Um, Yet his message looked far beyond his own century. He was looking at the big picture, right? He envisioned a future in which humanity recognizes its oneness and builds institutions capable of serving everyone. Baha'u'llah actually wrote this. He said, be united in counsel, be one in thought. So he doesn't say everyone must think exactly alike. Rather, he calls us to consult together with humility and with love, right? So there's that word, consultation, right? So in the Baha'i Faith, consultation is a spiritual process. It means listening more than just speaking, right? Seeking truth instead of victory. Um, Working together instead of competing with one another. The goal is not winning an argument. The goal is discovering truth together. So, having these elevated conversations really helps us to start to understand that unity really begins within ourselves. It is easy to talk about world peace, but it's much harder to practice peace in our own homes, you know. So unity definitely begins with the individual, Every day we choose whether to respond with kindness or anger, forgiveness or resentment, understanding or judgment. Abdul Baha has another quote where he said, let your vision, be world embracing rather than confined to your own self. So when our focus remains only on ourselves, division is going to naturally grow. We know that from history, from common sense, but when our concern expands, you know, to include others, unity will, begin to flourish. So today, I just wanted to ask my online community, um, you know, do I seek understanding before being understood? So that's the question, right? It's like, do I seek understanding before being understood? So this is like a small act, you know, to build the foundation of unity. And I believe that it would be a small step towards, changing our internal maybe thoughts or the way we conduct ourselves. Remembering every day that we should choose w- that we should choose to respond with kindness instead of anger and to choose to listen and to try to understand other individuals as opposed to just talking over others. Um, so this is one step towards, a better community, right? Because our goal is to build vibrant communities, and those vibrant communities will be full of diversity. So we have to eliminate what is not conducive of a unifying and vibrant community. So a big elimination would be the elimination of prejudice. Why do I bring this up? Because it's a big, heavy, negative thing that eliminates unity, right? So one of the greatest barriers to unity is going to be prejudice. I'm just going to say that. I'm going to put that elephant out in the room, right? So actually, prejudice can take many forms. There are many, many forms of prejudice. Yesterday at our devotional, a couple of people, were mentioning, religious prejudice, racial prejudice was a big topic during our discussion. Economic prejudice is another one, cultural prejudice, even prejudice like based on age or like education. So the Baha'i teachings call upon us to eliminate every form of prejudice. And Abdul Baha actually says to close your eyes to racial differences and welcome all with the light of oneness. It's just imagine the power of these words, not merely tolerate. This was another big topic at our devotional. Not merely tolerate, not just simply accept, but welcome. One of our participants was saying, I see you. So she's not merely tolerating you. She's not simply accepting you, but she's welcoming you, right? So unity requires more than coexistence. It requires a big thing. And I'm going to say the big L word. It requires genuine love. So, yes, the role of love. Love is the force that transforms unity from an idea into a reality. So, Baha'u'llah actually wrote this other quote that I will mention, and he said, so powerful is the light of unity that it can illuminate the whole earth, right? So there's that metaphor of light. Light removes darkness, like simply by existing. Likewise, acts of love naturally overcome fear. Every smile, every act of kindness, every, generous deed, every sincere conversation, these become the rays of light in a divided world, right? So I'm going to go a step further and invite you to also kind of like put this into perspective. So what are we trying to do? And what do we invite you guys to do? And it's to build unity in our local communities. And how can we do that? We're just simple, humble people, in society with a mindset that sometimes kind of like holds us back from even wanting to do this lofty goal, right? But actually, the Baha'i community works to build unity, not merely through words, but through action. We're an action oriented group. So around the world, Baha'is actually gather neighbors for these so-called devotional meetings, right? Some of them might be for children, some of them might be for like junior youth, some might just be adults, so it might be like an adult devotional meeting or just a mix of ages, right? And of different countries and backgrounds and languages. Um, and these activities welcome everyone regardless of, background or belief. So you don't have to be a Baha'i to be part of one of our devotionals. What these spaces do is they create spaces where people learn to know one another, not through stereotypes, but through genuine friendships. So unity grows essentially through friendships, one conversation at a time, one family at a time, one neighborhood at a time. And this is how unity and diversity starts to blossom in the neighborhoods. So, sometimes people fear unity because they believe it means losing their identity, right? But the Baha'i teachings actually, reject this idea. So unity definitely celebrates diversity in the Baha'i faith. Again, Abdul Baha, he compares humanity to a beautiful garden. Each flower keeps its own color, its own fragrance, its own beauty, yet together they create something far greater than any could alone. Likewise, every culture enriches humanity. Every language, every tradition, every people. Unity does not erase these gifts. It actually allows them to flourish. So how do we become builders of unity? Um, Here's some examples that I wrote down after our devotional. I was thinking about it, and it definitely starts with such humble action, which is speaking more kindly, forgiving more quickly, listening more deeply, serving more joyfully. It also can mean welcoming new strangers to our circles, right? Encouraging our children, encouraging the youth, you know, by appreciating diversity and by praying for humanity. And we actually did that at our devotional yesterday. One of our participants recited the prayer for humanity. So, again, doing some of these things helps build unity in our own local communities. And another big one that Baha'is are very, you know, like strongly about, is no backbiting. So avoiding gossip, that's what that means. Avoiding gossip, not talking bad about other people behind their back. Um, it's more about speaking kindly, speaking positive words, having these uplifting and positive conversations with each other so that we are builders of unity, not disunity. And remember that above all, what we would love to seek is compassion. And none of these things on my list require wealth or power. So these are things that you can do starting today if you wanted to take upon this challenge to become a builder of unity in your own community. These are things that you can start contributing today and make a difference because every person matters. And these are the things that we want our community to know. And these are the things that I want my YouTube channel community, subscribers, followers, and viewers to know is that, the promise of Baha'u'llah really assures that humanity assures humanity that unity is not merely a dream. It is God's purpose for this age, and that this process is not always easy. Um, Growth rarely is easy, but that the destination is certain. And that just as an individual grows through childhood and to adulthood, humanity is going to collectively learn to live as one family. So, in conclusion, I'd like to close with one final quote from Baha'u'llah. And it says here, "Ye are the fruits of one tree and the leaves of one branch." This quote actually inspired one of our participants to become very, very excited about, starting her own devotional in her own home. So we're very excited to say that a new devotional will be coming out of the devotional that we hosted here locally in our neighborhood, and that it makes us really excited. And that we'll be supporting our new devotional um activities that are going to start popping up in our neighborhoods, and we're really happy. So this is kind of like the summary of our devotional at home yesterday. Again, I just wanted to share with the community. Um, may our communities become places for friendship, and may our words heal rather than divide. And yes, and may we help fulfill Baha'u'llah's vision for one united human family. Thank you, friends. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care.